This time I'll call to order the February 2025 meeting of the Clearwater City Council. If you wish to address the council tonight, please complete a comment card. Comment cards are located by the clerk seated to the right of the dais. When called to speak, please hand your card to the clerk. This time we'll move to item 2 on the agenda for invocation. And tonight I'd like to ask all of us to stand for the invocation to be given tonight by Pastor Steve Kreloff from the Lakeside Community Chapel. And then remain standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, we come into your presence recognizing that you are God and you are sovereign over everything, and that includes government. We are grateful for our government, grateful that we live in such a wonderful country, and we pray, Lord, tonight, as each of the council members has to make decisions, that you give them wisdom and insight. We pray that they will recognize that they've been ultimately appointed by you and that what they do must be for the good of this community. So we pray to that end, and we pray that this will be a wonderful evening where good would be accomplished. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin tonight's meeting, I'd like to introduce our dais. To my far left is our City Clerk, Rosemarie Call.
Good evening.
To her right is our City Attorney, David Margolis.
Good evening.
To his right is City Council Member Michael Menino.
Good evening.
To his right and to my left is Vice Mayor David Albritton.
Good evening.
To my right is Council Member Lena Teixeira.
Good evening.
To her right is Council Member Ryan Cotton.
Hello.
To his right is our City Manager Jennifer Poirier.
Good evening.
And to her right is Assistant City Manager Dan Slaughter. With that, we'll move to item 4.1 on the agenda, which is February Service Awards. Unfortunately, the employee scheduled to be recognized tonight was not able to attend. So we'll move to item 4.2 on the agenda. I'd like to call forward Morgan Whiteley from the Tampa Bay Times. And I'll read a proclamation for Newspapers and Education Week. Whereas research tells us the best way to help children discover the joy of reading and become lifelong readers is to involve them early and often. And whereas helping a child learn and love to read improves students' chances for success in school and beyond. And whereas research shows that students who learn using the newspaper as an educational resource are more likely to become lifelong readers and informed and engaged citizens. And whereas Newspaper and Education is an international program that encourages the use of the daily newspaper as a living textbook for students from primary through adult education levels. And whereas for more than a half a century, the Tampa Bay Times Newspaper and Education program has served educators, students, and families by providing classroom newspapers, companion materials, and instructional support. And whereas Newspaper and Education Week is commemorated and celebrated annually during the first full school week in March. Now, therefore, I, Bruce Rector, Mayor of the City of Clearwater, Florida, on behalf of the Clearwater City Council, do hereby proclaim March 3 through the 7th, 2025, to be Newspaper and Education Week in Clearwater. Would you like to say a few words, Morgan?
I would love to. Thank you so much. My name is Morgan Whiteley. I'm Director of Philanthropy and Communications for the Tampa Bay Times. And Mayor Rector and council members, on behalf of the teachers, students, and families that we serve by with the Tampa Bay Times Newspaper and Education program, we thank you for your support. The NIE program has provided class sets of the newspaper to the Pinellas County schools at no cost to schools, teachers, or families since the 1970s. And teachers use the newspaper, as you mentioned, as a living textbook to teach English, current events, economics, science, civics, health, and more. The goal of NIE is to build lifelong learners, to build critical thinkers and informed and engaged citizens. So again, thank you so much for celebrating and recognizing NIE Week 2025. We thank you.
Thank you. And many of us here, we started, our lives reading the newspaper as children and developed a love for civic involvement and community involvement. And so thank you for inspiring our local students here to engage in the community and learn about their community.
Thank you.
That will move to item 4.3 on the agenda, Youth Art Month 2025 proclamation. This time I'll call forward Betsy Welch, Beth Daniels, and Maria Cantanonis from the Clearwater Arts Alliance. Whereas the study and production of arts leads to a fuller, more meaningful life, and whereas art education provides substantial educational benefits to all elementary, middle, and high school students, and whereas art education cultivates students' creativity, develops problem-solving and critical thinking skills by reinforcing and bringing to life what is learned in other subjects, and whereas art education teaches sensitivity to beauty, order, and other expressive qualities, and give students a deeper understanding of multicultural values and beliefs. And whereas our national leaders, the National Art Education Association, the Florida Arts Education Association, Arts for a Complete Education, Pinellas, and the Clearwater Arts Alliance acknowledge the necessity of including art experiences in all students' education. Now, therefore, I, Bruce Rector, Mayor of the City of Clearwater, Florida, on behalf of the Clearwater City Council, do hereby proclaim March 2025 to be Youth Art Month in Clearwater and encourage citizens to support quality school arts programs and experience the arts in their daily lives.
Thank you so much, Mayor Rector. My name is Betsy. I'm the Creative Projects Director for the Clearwater Arts Alliance. Youth Art Month is a national observance. It's been in existence, I think, since 1938, and it's a wonderful observance that City of Clearwater has added to their proclamation every year. We want to invite everybody to see the March is Youth Art Month exhibition that's at Creative Pinellas for the entire month. It's March 1st through 30th. The gallery is open from Wednesday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then on Sunday, March 2nd, from 1:30 to 3, there is an opening reception. And you can come out and see hundreds of students and their families celebrating their artwork being on display in a wonderful gallery space. So we hope that you can all make it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Beth, everybody else?
One other thing, just it's in the future, not immediate, but we've had a long-standing arts education committee. The Clearwater Arts Alliance continue to support that. And one of the applications that recently came in and was approved that we will be assisting with is for Clearwater High to give them some extra money to help put on their musical this spring. So that'll be in April. Be watching for that.
Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for all you all do all year long to support the arts. It's really, for all of us on the city council, it's just exciting to see so many great things happening in the arts community. But in particular for us, it's youth involvement, seeing these youth of our community inspired by art. So thank you for this.
Thank you, and go see the exhibition, which is right across the
Yes,
hallway.
we'll do that.
It's our 4th exhibition we've mounted right here in the library. So, thanks.
Come on up here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I don't want you to go tumbling.
Yeah, that's the spot, right? Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you so much.
That, we'll move to item 4.4 in the agenda, North Beach update.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Marcus Williamson, Public Works Director. Not a lot to report this time. We have been out doing a little bit of the repair work, so we replaced some pipes over on Mandalay and looking at doing some lining. With spring break coming, goal will be kind of get some of our trucks and equipment off the beach to try to not put any more traffic out there. Continuing the design, engineering Also from, I guess, the citywide stormwater, we're really trying to get a couple of contracts in place just to make us a little bit more resilient going forward, knowing we need to get some down trees removed and some ditch maintenance in a number of locations. So focusing on getting some of those contracts in place, and that will be ready for the next hurricane season too.
Questions from the council?
Just one.
Councilmember Teixeira?
Yes, I understand that you went out in various locations with Assistant City Manager Dan Slaughter and actually went to some of the problem areas, and I want to publicly thank you for doing that, going out to various parts in the city and talking to the residents that have been affected.
Okay, thank you. That move to item 5.1 on the agenda. Approve the minutes of the February 6, 2025 City Council meeting as submitted.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. It's time we move to item 6.1 on the agenda.
Approve a development agreement between AP Beach Properties LLC and the City of Clearwater for property located at 405 Coronado Drive. Adopt Resolution 25-01 and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Thank you. Good evenings, Mayor and Council. I'm Ted Kozak, Planning and Development. Again, proposed is a development agreement between the property owner of 405 Coronado Drive in the city. And as stated, the case number is HDA 2024-090-001. The requested allocation of 100 units from the Hotel Density Reserve is under Beach by Design. This is consistent with Section 5.B.2 of Beach by Design, which pertains to the reserve. There was an original 1,385 units in the density reserve. The property is 1.759 acres in size and is located along Coronado Drive, 5th Street, and Hamden Drive. Proposed is construction of 135 overnight accommodation units with 20,000 square feet of retail and 6825 square feet of restaurant area. There is a provision of 400 parking spaces, at least 50 of spaces for the general public. Based on prior approvals, 1.32 acres of development area remains for development. The project intensity aligns with established levels of service for concurrency as anticipated by Beach by Design. And a little bit brief background history. There was a prior approved development agreement to allocate 100 units from the density reserve, which was expired in October of last year. The current proposal is the same footprint, similar as before, things such as setbacks and height. There's a reduction of number of hotel units from 166 to 135, which provides additional amenity areas, which I've already talked about, without increasing intensity. So now we're at 77 hotel units per acre. Originally was 125 units per acre. The last go around was a little over 90. So as proposed, it is consistent with the comprehensive plan, the community development code, and Beach by Design. The recommendation is for approval to adopt the resolution on this second reading. Thank you.
Is anyone here from the public desires to speak to agenda item 6.1?
Mayor,
You go ahead.
with your permission, I'll go ahead and read a, would you like me to read it first? or-
Yeah.
We have Resolution 2501, a resolution of the City of Clearwater, Florida, approving a development agreement between the City of Clearwater and AP Beach Properties LLC, providing an effective date.
Apologize for limping a bit. My left leg is not working properly. Not to worry, however, I've got a lifetime warranty on it, and I've spoken to the manufacturer already, so we'll be fine. I wanted to comment on 6.1, as I think it's been recommended for approval. It meets all the requirements, and I believe it will pass tonight from the council unanimously. However, I think it presents us with an opportunity to propose something for the council and the mayor to consider. On the 3rd of February, there was a rather robust discussion of the traffic congestion on Clearwater Beach. And perhaps now is the time to consider whether beach development by design should undergo some type of pause or perhaps a halt as a result of continuous development that's going on the beach. not only for the visitors to the beach, that congestion, if you will, but for the residents that live there, as well as for people like myself who are in the countryside area. And occasionally we do go down to the beach, but it's a very carefully planned trip because of the traffic. So I'm just asking you to consider that as whether the time is now to take a look at the beach development by design and decide if maybe it should be paused or perhaps a moratorium is put in place. Thank you very much for your time.
Does anyone else here from the public desire to speak regarding agenda item 6.1?
I'm going to let Brian have the last word tonight. I guess that's the best I can get it. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and staff. My name is Rudy Michaelek. 2 weeks ago, I shared several thoughts with you about this project. Number one, the Planning Committee has not updated the listing of remaining density project units, depriving other developers of the opportunity to acquire some of these unused units. Our email asking for this document this week has still been unanswered. All right, so we've asked for it for 2 weeks. Still nothing is happening. I don't understand why planning can't take care of this. Probably a shortage of staff. During Mr. Unks Jr.'s presentation, and I see him at the back, so I'm sure he'll clarify, he stated all was in order with the paperwork. I believe he also mentioned the new owner of the project. Procedurally, the density units themselves cannot be sold from one person to another. If unused, they should be returned to the city and they can be issued to a new person. The existing project was good until October of 2024, but the new owner application was submitted in September of 2024, and as we just heard in the comments, they requested units out of the pool. Well, there were no units in the pool in September. Those units weren't returned until October. And in fact, there's no document that shows that they were actually returned by the old owner back to the city. With this breach in procedure, I believe, again, the planning department and others have got to be told to follow the procedure. Therefore, a final decision should be postponed at this time until there's clarification that everybody did in fact step by step as the procedures of the city call for. At the last meeting, I also asked about an accumulative comprehensive plan of our infrastructure capacity, a listing of our current usage, and a good showing the increase for all the projects coming online, which are numerous projects involved. Until we know the capacity and the usage of our city, I don't know how we could just keep adding one more project and one more project. Infrastructure concerns were a big campaign issue this last April. Why is the whole council not getting behind a push to make sure we adequately understand what our capacities are and what our needs are so that we don't overbuild things? And as was mentioned by Pat, the beach by design is 30 years old with an update recently, about 10, 12 years ago. It's time to take a look. Do we really need all those hotel units on the beach? We have requested at different times to understand what the percentage of occupancy was on the beach. We've gone to several different agencies and groups. Nobody can ever tell us what in fact was the occupancy or is the occupancy of all the rooms that are now in place on the beach. You really need to take a look at that. Thank you very much.
Anyone else here from the public the desire to speak to agenda item 6.1?
Good evening, Christine. Chris Michael, Clearwater Point, 855 Bayway Boulevard. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and city staff. To begin, I appreciate again the opportunity to speak before you, and I just want to augment few things that my husband Rudy just shared with you. Number one, returning 405 Coronado units to the pool. As Rudy mentioned, we were told that every available unit should be returned to the pool if not used. That did not happen. And also in the last several months, 2 beach hotel projects, namely the Hyatt and the Edge Holiday Inn, purchased and transferred units from the Yacht Club on Bayway Boulevard, allowing them to add rooms. They did not know there were rooms available in that pool that they could use. This resulted in additional demands placed on our beach infrastructure, which brings up again our beach infrastructure. This is not a new issue. It's been often included on your platforms as you ran for city council as something of importance to you. I am aware that besides Rudy and myself, several Clearwater citizens have contacted you, especially most recently, Dennis McDermott, writing to you, providing an extensive list of our infrastructure needs. Additionally, we became aware, as Rudy shared, that development projects that are new are reviewed to see if they will meet their individual infrastructure needs, but there's no overarching plan to see how they are part of the whole overarching city plan. We are requesting that the city council, this city council, commission a development plan, a comprehensive infrastructure demand report, which encompasses a broad analysis of our total city infrastructure needs and our capacity to meet those needs. Thank you so much.
Does anyone else here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.1? Okay.
You can just give it to us and we'll just.
Hearing seeing none, is there any council discussion on this item? I do, something was said about occupancy. Of course, our planning department doesn't track occupancy of the hotel rooms. Visit St. Pete Clearwater does. And remarkably, after the 2 hurricanes, our occupancy was close to 90% out on Clearwater Beach. So those rooms, and it's been fortunate that we've rebounded strong from the hurricanes, at least in Clearwater. But the demand has been very high for the inventory we have out there on Clearwater Beach past 6 months. So. Okay, any other discussion? If not, is there a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 6.1.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. It's time to move to agenda item 6.2.
Approve a funding agreement between the City of Clearwater, the Pinellas on Coast Transit Authority to provide enhanced Jolly Trolley service during spring break period of March 2, 2025 through May 3rd, 2025, with the city contributing an amount not to exceed $108,171 and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Mayor Dan Slaughter, the Assistant City Manager. I'll be handling this item. This is an agreement that we've done annually during the spring break to try to encourage mass transit, to try to reduce congestion and parking and challenges on the beach. This agreement reflects a 3% increase from the previous years. When you do the math, it does look a little different than 3% because there was a couple extra days that we actually got for free last year that they included this year. They caught it. So I'm sorry I wasn't able to get that free day again, but I did my best. More than happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.2? Okay. Not, is there any, no. Mr. Enderle?
Hi, Council. I'm supposed to call you Chair. I read the rules. I'm sorry. Chair is above the mayor in here, so thank you, Chair. Thank you, everybody. I'm trying to be friendlier this time. We're going to talk about $108,000 to the Jolly Trolley. You guys represent the average citizen or every citizen in Clearwater, and you think the citizens would affirm this. Each one of those kids who come down here to pay $800 to $1,400 a day. Not one of them can afford it. Their parents can. Each one of their parents make 10 times the average salary of somebody in Clearwater. So I find it hard to believe that the Clearwater citizens would think that paying for these children these 3 weeks is acceptable. For $108,000, I would make from Courtney Campbell, where it says Clearwater, to Clearwater Beach, look identical to Mar-a-Lago, with the trees looking like this everywhere. For $108,000, I could divide that up into our 3 seasons: spring break, Sugarfest, in November when the snowbirds come down. The reason why is YouTube and all these people who have $1,500 a day to spend want to photograph themselves and put it on YouTube. And when they see our trees look like Mar-a-Lago, our bonds go up because we look remarkable. That's all I got to say. Thank you for your time. I know the decision's in, but I had a different viewpoint than you guys. Thank you for letting me talk. Thanks.
Is anyone else here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.2? Okay, hearing seeing none, is there any council discussion? I just want to say I'm familiar with Trolley's service out to the beach. I've ridden it during spring break, and just so there's no misconception, it's not often tourists, particularly riding it from downtown Clearwater out there. It's our hospitality worker industry. These folks are not high-wage earners. They have no other way to get out to work other than ride Jolly Trolley or public transportation. We're helping families get to and from work during a very difficult 2 months for anyone to get out to work. If you get out there, there's no parking, and you can't afford it. So we have all kinds of, particularly young people, hospitality, housekeepers that rely upon this public transportation. So this 2 months, particularly when it's very hard to get out there, it's very important to our community to be able to help them have transportation to and from work, at least for that stretch across the bridge. So with that, if there's no further discussion by the council, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 6.2.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. This time we'll move to agenda item 6.3.
Award purchase orders to Harrell's LLC, Heritage Landscape Supply Group, Inc., doing business as Heritage Professional Products Group, Howard Fertilizer and Chemical LLC, Mar Green Resources LLC, and Site One Landscape Supply for citywide herbicide, pesticide, and assorted related products in the cumulative amount of $175,000 for initial term of March 1, 2025 through September 30, 2025, with 2 one-year renewal options at $300,000 annually pursuant to invitation to bid 55-24, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Matthew Anderson, Assistant Director, Parks and Recreation. The item before you is a citywide PO for chemicals, pesticides, and other chemicals needed to keep our parks and other facilities at the level that our citizens and our visitors expect. 3 examples of that are Eddie Seymour, Coachman Park, Pier 60 Park, all those beautiful landscapes, green grasses, all due to these chemicals. We need these chemicals to do our jobs, essentially. We put out a competitive bid for 7 different categories, and it was awarded to 5 different companies. So it is spread out to get the best pricing. And the item before you, I'd be glad to answer any questions you have.
Yeah. Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.3? Hearing seeing none, is there any council discussion?
I do have a few comments here. Matt, first one being, when going through the documentation, I ended with the tabulations chart. And I did notice item 2.5 on the tabulations chart has dismissed turf herbicide. The prices range from the minimum of $165. The next company listed at around $200. And then there's another company that's $356 per unit. So I'm just wondering what your process is when you select which vendor to go with,
It's
because the
based,
range is so vast.
it is, we select the lowest responsible bidder. So we
Okay.
look at the chemicals. If you look at MAR Green Resources, some of them are generic herbicides and chemicals. So we obviously have to look at that. We don't want to exclude anybody, but we want to make the best choice and get our most amount of our dollar for what we're getting. So
Okay, perfect. That's
how we
what I
look
was
at it.
hoping for, but I
Yes,
just
sir.
wanted to confirm that when I noticed those were just so different.
Absolutely. And then
Thank you.
One of the higher ones very well may be a name brand, but has the same active ingredient as a generic brand. So,
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir.
absolutely.
Any other council discussion? Just for the public's information too, we're always trying to avoid using chemicals where we don't have to or we don't need to, not just for the expense, but for environmental concerns. That's
Absolutely. We use integrative pest management, so we don't do broadband treatments. We treat as needed, in areas as needed. We try, lesser chemicals, and then if they don't work, then we take the next step. So we are very conscious of our chemical use. We actually track it through a portal on our Parks and Recreation website. You can go see what chemicals we've used in that month. It typically takes 2 weeks to show up from the month prior because we have to post-process that data, but it is available to the public.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if no other further discussion by the council, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 6.3.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Agenda item 6.4.
Approve the joint participation agreement G3901 between the City of Clearwater and the State of Florida Department of Transportation for the construction of a rotating beacon at the Clearwater Air Park. Authorize the approved officials to execute same and adopt Resolution 25-05.
Good evening, Council. Mayor Mike McDonald, Marine and Aviation Department. This item is a request to approve a grant agreement with the Florida Department of Transportation for the design and construction of a rotating beacon at the Clearwater Air Park in the amount of $110,000. We have a 90% design of the new terminal building, which gives us the regulatory specs needed to install the rotating beacon. Originally, the pre-design thought was to install the beacon on the terminal, but with the design of the terminal, that is not possible. We are going to install the beacon using the recent Air Park survey and the design height of the terminal building to move forward a standalone structure. This also allows staff to start the project right away with council's approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Is there anyone here tonight from the public that desires to speak to agenda item 6.4? Hearing, seeing none, is there any council discussion?
Mayor, this is
Michaels?
resolution number 2505, a resolution of the City of Clearwater, Florida, authorizing the execution of a joint participation agreement between the City of Clearwater and the State of Florida Department of Transportation for a grant to construct a rotating beacon at the Clearwater Air Park, providing an effective date.
Once again, is there anyone here from the public to speak to this agenda item? Hearing, seeing none, is there any council discussion? Councilmember Teixeira?
Just a reminder that this is a grant with 20% coming back to the city, which then Fly USA is going to reimburse us,
Correct.
just to go on public. Okay.
Okay. All right, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve agenda item 6.4.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Agenda item 6.5.
Authorize the purchase order to Environmental Systems Research Institute of Redlands, California for the renewal of the city's mapping and land management software licensing and maintenance in the amount of $285,900 for the term beginning February 26, 2025 through February 25, 2028, pursuant to City Code of Section 2.563(1)(d), non-competitive purchases impractical, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Mayor, Council, Dan Mayer, IT Director. We've been using Esri as our GIS software provider platform for a number of years since its origin. It is one of the unique products that it's not a very competitive vertical. There's not a lot of GIS alternatives, and it's used by all the major state agencies, federal agencies, and local county agencies. So we request your renewal of this.
Is there anyone here from the public tonight that desires to speak to agenda item 6.5? Hearing, seeing none, is there any council discussion? If there's none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 6.5.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.6.
Authorize an increase of purchase orders to Florida Graphic Services, Inc. of Clearwater, Primary, and AMI Graphics, Inc. of Stratford, New Hampshire, and Outdoor America Images, LLC, doing business as OAI Rayner of Tampa, Florida, secondary for citywide signs, banners, and miscellaneous other items in the cumulative amount of $175,000, bringing the contract total to $200,000 annually for the term with 2 one-year renewal options pursuant to RFP 58-24, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Joelle Castelli, Public Communications Director. This item is to secure the services for citywide banners, signs, vehicle wraps, decals, magnets, and other similar items. So it's an increase of a portion of the funding that we already have. On August 6th, we had RFPs. We had 6 qualified vendors, and we selected 1 primary and 2 backup vendors. And just a correction, I said that this was for vehicle wraps, but this is for the types of wraps that we do on things that are not vehicles. We have a separate contract for vehicle wraps. Each department pays for these funds for these wraps and signs and banners out of their own operating. But some of the things that we do is our beautiful lifeguard towers that you can see in that picture, and then some of our other things that we do, like our parking kiosks to identify where people go to pay for the parking spots. So this is to cover those items for the next 3 years. And if we have any questions, I have one of our 2 amazing graphic artists here that designed most of these wraps that sat on the RFP committee.
Does anyone here from the public desires to speak to agenda item 6.6? If there's none, is there any council discussion?
I just want to mention that very good job of the graphics. I think that it's very eye-catching, and it'll do a lot to people that come in to use our services here on the beach and so forth.
We want people to know where the lifeguard towers are, where the signage is for safety, and then feel good about paying for parking.
Wow. Well.
Tall order.
Yeah, and it's particularly out on the beach. It's I was reminded when I saw flying Virgin Airways this past week, and they show one picture for each destination around the world. So they show New York, Barbados, San Francisco, and then they show Tampa, and the photo they used for Tampa was Clearwater Beach. So we're an international vacation destination, and so the graphics like you're putting forth just help enhance that reputation we have around the world for being such a great destination. So thanks for the time you put into that. Looks great. Okay, is there, if there's no further discussion, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 6.6.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Agenda item 6.7.
Approve the renewal of a sovereignty submerged land lease with the Board of Trustees of the Internal Improvement Trust Fund of the State of Florida for the police station boat dock on Clearwater South Beach, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Thank you, Rose. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Robert Kasmer, Public Works Engineering, Real Estate Coordinator. The item before you tonight is a 5-year lease renewal for the sovereign submerged land from the state of Florida. This is at no cost to the city for a 3-slip dock with boat lift on Clearwater South Beach for the continued use by city fire and rescue services. The current lease that we had has since expired, okay? Because of hurricanes, we could not orchestrate it and get everything approved on time. The state has imputed a start date of that as of November 6, 24. It's good, again, for 5 years to expire on November 6, 29. City staff, city legal has reviewed the agreement, and we are in agreement with it, and ask for your approval, please.
So we're here from the public tonight that desires to speak to agenda item 6.7. Seeing none, is there any council discussion? there's none, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 6.7.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Agenda item 6.8.
Approve guaranteed maximum price 2, Amendment 4 to the agreement with Ajax Building Company LLC of Midway, Florida for construction of the Municipal Services Building renovations 23-0035-EN in the amount of $3,193,901, increasing the purchase order from $5,822,660 to a not-to-exceed total of $9,016,561 pursuant to request for qualifications 59-23 and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Evening, Mayor, council members, Marcus Williamson, Public Works Director. I know we've been in front a couple times already talking about MSB, so this brings the full GMP forward, and it also finishes the realignment of some funds that are there. Again, this was one of the driving projects on why we really needed to get into the work induction and kind of peel apart all of the life cycle costs so that as we're coming forward, we're painting a full picture. So some of what you'll see in this realignment is IT coming out of some of their IT budgets that are programmed for these type of work, building maintenance, with the air handler and all coming out of some of those buckets of money. And the big piece that was candidly just missed in it was the move costs were not put into the project when we initially did it. So we've knocked that down from about $1 million to $600,000. And a lot of that we've been able to turn into actual investment in other properties that we have out there. So if you look at like the old Countryside Library, we'll have cubicles, furniture, IT, air-conditioned spaces all set up. So the city will be able to use this as a swing space going forward for a bunch of other projects. So we were able to kind of buy down future costs through some of these. Clearly, we would have preferred to have had all of that identified in the budget coming forward. So that's what our work induction process is going to get after. Bill Burns from Ajax is here if there's specific questions on some of the GMP items. But I would say it's been a real partnership. As we've gone in, we've knocked out over $2.5 million off of this project as we've gone through, and it really has been a pretty good partnership with them looking for all of those items. They've removed a number of costs as we've kind of explained things. So they've whittled things down quite a bit as we're going through, and we really look for what are those smart places to spend the money and where not to. So like the HVAC equipment, if you're removing the furniture, that's really your time to get in above ceiling, do the duct work, do the air handler replacement. It'll never be cheaper than then. If you're dropping your ceiling grid to do all of that, that's when you want to go in and do your LED lights. So, we'll save in future energy bills with a more efficient HVAC. We'll save in energy bills with the LED lights. Those are currently about a 2 to 3 year replacement window. They're one of the best bangs for your buck when it comes to some of those efforts. And doing it as part of the project, we're probably down to a year and a half that we'll see some of that replacement. IT, as we went in and we're looking at the reorganization in it, there was some upgrades that we're doing into the IT infrastructure to support kind of where we're at. So that's why we dipped into a little bit of the IT standard projects that are out there. We're actually able to negotiate a great deal on furniture. We actually locked in furniture for 24 pricing for 2 years in advance, which they will usually never hold it more than 1 year. And we went with what's called a Forever brand, where it's not supposed to go out, so we can continue tweaking that, getting parts for it. What we saw is very standardized parts, so we really liked that one. We feel like it'll be good money long-term as we're going through a bunch of those. So some of the other pieces where we went after some of the funding, again, we moved everybody out in one shot. We're running it concurrently with the City Hall. So again, Ajax was able to save on some of their personnel, some of the trailer costs, the oversight that was going on. So we really tried to squeeze as much out of that as we could also. So good team effort. As you go in there, there's a couple of allowances that you'll see in those numbers. Allowances are controlled by the city. So when it comes to that, they have to reach out to us as we're going into it. Some of it was as we were going through these, you'll see things like the roof drains that are out there, the life safety with the elevator. We just didn't have time to get through all of that full scoping, so there is allowances in there while we get the proper vendors. We'll actually have to tear down some of the ceiling to really get in and see some of the roof drain issues. So standing by if there's any specific questions on it.
Okay. Is anyone here from the public desires to speak to the agenda item 6.8? Hearing seeing none, is there any council discussion? Councilmember Cotton?
Yeah, thank you, Marcus. I appreciate that. I really appreciate the cost savings that you noted, as well as the foresight to look at the furniture, and something that is forever line. It's the first time I've heard about it, but that's a great thing to do, especially when we know you order furniture and the parts are never there to get again. So thank you very much for that. I do have some things that I wanted to ask you about, and that's page 11 on the document, those alternates that are there. There's multiple that are not included, and my question to you is, are they going to be necessary at a later date? And if they are necessary at that later date, what would the impact on cost and the timelines be for that? Would it be more progressive to add those now to save on cost and making sure we complete the building on time?
We put those in alternates as we were going through some of the scoping effort, so we do not anticipate needing to do any of them. So if you look at items like the bathroom, we're not going to get in and do any bathroom work. The blinds, the current blinds are fine, so we don't need to spend that money. So that was conscious efforts as we refined scope and budget. We don't anticipate using any of those.
Awesome. My next question is going to be a few line items like demolition, vertical storm drain investigations, and moving services. They're the budgeted allowances that you kind of hit on there. Were these budgeted at a higher estimated cost? Because I see that the moving services on page 24 is $190,000, and the reason I bring that up is because obviously you'll move this stuff out, and that's a cost. But also looking at the new furniture that's going in, it's not like we're hiring another company to bring that in. I would assume the delivery cost was in the shipment fee of the new products that are being delivered. So the numbers seemed a little bit high, but I understand if they're estimated higher, the city will keep that money in the end. They don't have to use it.
And those numbers came off of what it costs us to move out to the temporary facilities that we're in, and this will be moving back. So the reason we put it as an allowance is we expect to drive that number down. That was equivalent to what we were spending to move out. We should be able to move back in cheaper, so that's why we went with an allowance.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's all I had.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, Marcus, you answered this question last time I asked it about the building department being relocated downstairs. I mean, we had talked about that years ago to make it a little more public accessible, and you said no, they were going to leave it upstairs. But is that area going to be remodeled in a more area that the customers come in a bigger area where they can get to all the, kind of like I was always thinking that like the county, when you go in to get a driver's license, they have all the little booths and you make your way around, you know. County did the same thing with their building department years ago. Is there a redesign of that building department?
So we really wanted to get to the one-stop shop. It's kind of what I've heard it referred to. Is you walk in one area and you just pull the tickets and do it. The building and the way it's constructed and the people that we needed to get in, we worked really hard at trying to figure out we could not get the spaces to work without having to do major wall changes, shifting people into different floors and stuff. So we had tried looking at that, and there was just not a good cost-effective way to do that. It was going to require a lot more money to go in and shuffle the design, and we still weren't going to get to that optimum solution. It was going to when you look at planning, engineering, public utilities, just the number of people that are in there, it's hard to get it into one floor. So we were gonna have to break departments apart. So what we tried to do was just keep both of the service areas where they would walk in at least closer to an area. So as they come up those front stairs, the planning one's right in front of them, and then the engineering's to the right. So it's not ideal, but it was really fiscally was the best solution without major renovations.
All right, well, I look forward to seeing it all finished.
Councilmember Menino?
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple things. Obviously, some of these large construction projects, when they come in, it can make all of us nervous on where we start in an estimated budget versus the number that finally comes in. You know, in this one, I commend you, our leadership team, our partnership with Ajax, and coming in, and the $2.5 million in cost avoidance is a huge help in this project. And then seeing a number of just, you know, 300,000 off of what was estimated at that previous date is impressive, especially in a field of so many inflationary costs of labor and materials, and then the time it takes from beginning to end. I just commend you, the staff and the team and the partnership on bringing this in with respect to the final dollar. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank the team as well. ACM Slaughter and I had the opportunity on Friday to go around to the different locations that our employees have been displaced to. And really what they've done and pulled off is nothing short of incredible. Also want to thank all the employees who have been displaced. It's disruptive for sure, and everybody was in pretty good spirits, and I think it went better than anticipated, although not to take away from the stressful aspect of it and them having to move back. But really, they've done an outstanding job. It's worth it to go out there and see, especially at Countryside Library. If you saw that prior to what they did and then go out there now, I didn't even know it was the same building. Yeah. And that, not because it's extraordinary and that it's elaborate, but just what they've done really is very impressive. So I want to thank all involved, like I said, including those that made it happen and those that moved.
And how many employees total have transitioned or been displaced?
270.
So it's a big number.
It's a big number.
And they have been really good, and department directors have been great to kind of help message and work with them, so we really appreciate that.
Okay, any other discussion, questions? Okay. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve agenda item 6.8.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.9.
Mayor, this is actually my item. The item largely speaks for itself, but this is a modification to the pension plan that would allow firefighters to purchase pension credit service for time they incurred either in the military, to the extent that they're not already entitled to it under federal law, as well as time they've spent in EMS or fire for other agencies. This has been vetted through our actuary as required by Florida law, and it has been determined there's no actuarial impact because the firefighters are required to purchase the credit. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.9? Hearing and seeing none, do we have a reading on this?
We will have to read it. This one. This is ordinance number 9818-25, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 3, Employees Pension Plan, creating Section 2.429, prior firefighter and military service buybacks, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for severability, providing for a repealer, and providing for an effective date.
Okay. Again, is there anyone here from the public to speak to this agenda? If there's none, is there any council discussion? If there's none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 6.9.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.10.
Mayor, this is also my item. This is the appeal from the pedestrian injury on Gulf to Bay. Just as a very quick reminder, the city was not driving the vehicle that struck the plaintiff. and the plaintiff did cross and was struck by a different motorist against a hand signal saying do not cross. But this is the appeal. It is required under the city charter to get council authorization to file notice of appeal.
Anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.10? Hearing seen none, is there any council discussion? If not, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 6.10.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.11.
Mayor, I guess I'm doing a lot of talking tonight. It's 6.11 is also my item. We are seeking pre-approval from the council, if needed, to file suit against Stantec and/or Skanska as a result of the Coachman Park design defects and construction defects. I know we've discussed it at length through one-on-one meetings. It may not become necessary. We are engaging in significant conversations with them, but if it does become necessary, we don't want to wait, and we want to jump on it. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay. If anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.11.
Hi, I'm Blaine Enderman. What are you guys talking about? What kind of construction problems? Talk about it. Every one of you, talk it out. We don't know about it. What's going on?
Anyone else here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.11? Hearing seeing none, is there a council discussion? If there's none,
I was just going to point out, I believe, because it's potential active litigation, it's probably best not to talk about it.
That would be my recommendation. I do understand Mr.
I get it,
Underley's
too.
point. I
Totally
sympathize
understand.
with him. If it was not on the precipice of active litigation, I would.
Yeah.
Other than just to say that, like any owner who has issues with a contractor, it's not the first time in public history that that's happened. In fact, it's fairly regular. We've actually been kind of lucky, I think, as a city, that we have avoided some of those issues up until now. But like any public owner that has issues in a construction project, we have to get them resolved. And, you know, as I said, we're in conversations to do that, but it has not gone as quickly, I think, either as I would like or city staff would like. And so we want to be on top of it, and this would be the next step.
okay. Any other discussion? Councilman
Not to go
Medina?
on farther with it, I think it's probably, and I agree, it's probably worth, you know, making the statement of this as no regards to any safety concerns. It's not changing any way we're currently performing currently or moving forward. Nothing is changing. This is just something behind the scenes with legal that they've been working on and they'll move forward with. So I think that's probably safe to say.
Yeah, I thank you for that, Councilor Menino. I think we probably should have said that. This is nothing that will affect a resident or customer or a guest coming to visit the park. These are just, you know, issues that we have to deal with affecting our operation, so.
Okay. Any other discussion? Now, is there a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 6.11.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 7, city manager reports.
Nothing, sir.
Okay. Agenda item 8, city attorney reports.
Nothing further.
Agenda item 9, closing comments by council members. Councilmember Cotton.
I do have something, and this is going to be for my appointment to the Tampa Bay Estuary Board program for an annual update on what's going on there. And for those of you who are in the audience or watching and you're not familiar with what the estuary program is, it's really a regional program, and their work protects and restores local ecosystems, which improve the water quality, wildlife, and outdoor spaces within our Tri-County area, really. But the update is, for every dollar that Clearwater has contributed to the estuary program, they've been able to leverage $281. So they're doing really good in finding those funding sources and improving the leverage dollar on it. We did have 2 events that happened within our city. And one of them was with a school where autism-inspired plants was the name of the event. The students learned about native and invasive species. Then they participated in hands-on restoration work, planting 600 cordgrass plugs. And those, because I did not know what cordgrass was, are plants that are salt tolerant and provide erosion control and water filtration. The second event that we had was at Moccasin Lake Park. It was Give a Day for the Bay, which attracted over 100 volunteers. So that's huge right there. They removed 852 pounds of invasive weeds and 34 pounds of trash. They were able to restore 2,640 feet of habitat. And this was, again, in collaboration with the city and Keep Pinellas Beautiful. So I think that they're doing good work on that board, and I think it's money well spent, especially as you noted a little bit earlier in this meeting, trying to take care of our natural environment and make sure that we're investing in an appropriate way. And water quality has gotten a little bit worse because of the hurricanes, but it's starting to get back to normal levels, which is obviously good for us. So, thank you.
Yeah, very important for our community, our region, so thanks for sharing that.
Yep.
Councilmember Tuxedo.
February has been a very busy month for all these great events and awards and celebrations, and it's not going to let up. But there's a baseball theme to February. Last night, we welcomed the Phillies at the ballpark, and that was great to see everybody there. Last weekend, we had the 2025 ESPN-covered Shriners Clearwater Invitational College Softball event, and I had the honor of throwing the first pitch. All I can say was I offered some comical relief. It was low and wide, but it's okay. It was the effort that counted, right? And I had a really good time, and it was wonderful to see everybody out there. And then this weekend, I look forward to all the Little Leagues opening days this weekend, so we're all going to be there to see those great kids start their season.
Okay, Councilmember Menino.
Thank you. It's interesting when you go in the back end to kind of touch on some of your thunder, but I do want to say I had a busy couple weeks as well. Attended the 2025 State of the Region Conference while you were out of town, Mayor. I will make sure I feed some of that very important information in our region to you so you can all see it and kind of get caught up on it. I was also honored, I'm not sure why they chose me, but I was a panelist on the Gulf Coast Safety Summit, which was really neat, downtown Tampa, and discussing the safety in our region and what we as municipalities can do to keep our residents safer as they're mobile in our communities. Welcome back all of our Phillies family, staff, players. Commend our city leadership and the Phillies staff on getting baseball ready. I know I could almost see a sigh of relief on so many faces last night at the event of finally behind us and getting baseball ready. Very exciting. And to piggyback a little bit on the councilwoman's, I too went out and spent 2 days out at the Clearwater Invitational D1 softball tournament. Absolutely huge success. I won't brag about my first pitch.
It was great.
But let's just say I hit the catcher's mitt. It was truly a beautiful example of how our community sports and philanthropy can come together, and no pun intended, but to hit a home run with it. Just to give you some stats, which our staff and they all did an amazing job out there. 31 teams participated, played in 82 games, over 20,000 tickets sold, representing 47 different states and 4 countries. So very, very thankful to our partnership with ESPN, Visit St. Pete Clearwater, obviously all of what our staff did, and the Shriners Hospital for Children for their sponsorship, and just a great weekend. Mother Nature was pretty good to us the whole weekend, other than just a couple hours of rain. But again, kudos to staff on the amazing job they did putting together the whole experience for fans, players, families. It was just a complete success. It was an honor to be a part of.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah, well, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Phillies too, because it's that time of year again. Even though we have this little cold snap, we're going to be in spring hopefully next week, but this Sunday is opening day for spring training. The Phillies will be playing their first game at the Baycare Ballpark. And at our event last night, I got to tell you that Phillies were just couldn't say enough of nice things about Clearwater fixing the stadium up after the damage it had after the hurricane, in readiness for them to be playing their first game come Sunday. And they didn't think it was going to happen. They said it's beautiful. So I just want to tell everybody that wants to come out, I think this Sunday is going to be nice, hopefully. Come out and see some baseball.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll move to item 10, closing comments by Mayor. That's the only thing I really wanted to touch on, was just the Phillies opening game for spring training is Sunday. And I saw my favorite mascot is back in town on social media today. The Philly Fanatic is out there getting ready for a great spring training season. And so it's going to be always a fun time here in Clearwater. And just along those lines, over and over again, I can't compliment our team enough for getting our city back to where it's at now. I don't know how many people have come here for Philadelphia, all the Phillies staff, fans already commenting on, wow, it's amazing. We can hardly tell you had 2 hurricanes in 2 weeks, less than 6 months ago. And it's a tribute to all of our team that worked so hard to get the city where it's at today. It's just fantastic where you've gotten it, and this is the reason why. Our hotels are full. I listened to the TDC meeting yesterday while I was traveling, and reports are strong with occupancy in all of our hotels. We're back and leading the county and the region in recovery from the hurricanes, and so compliments to all of our team on doing that. And our team at Parks and Rec team got complimented too by St. Pete Clearwater on the amazing job. The ESPN event is truly it's nationally televised. I think they have 6 or 7 games that are on national television on ESPN or ESPN2 or one of their networks, and they bring some of the top 25 college women's softball teams in the country. I think usually out of 16, a good 12 of those are ranked in the top 25. So it's an amazing event, and our team got complimented on the way they hosted that, made the teams comfortable, and the success of that event over the years has largely to do with the way our team really dives in and makes that a premier televised event. So thank you to our team for doing all you do to help us host not just that event, but all kinds of events throughout the year. Again, on the Phillies, some of us were out there at Baycare Ballpark after Helene, and it's really unbelievable that we, in a very short amount of time, turned that stadium around to be able to host spring training. And the Phillies organization understands that. They saw it too, and they're so appreciative of where we've gotten to get to where now it's that ballpark, and particularly the locker rooms underneath, is more beautiful than ever. And players love it, what's been done, but it took a lot of collaboration, sacrifice, and hard work by our team to get it. So again, Clearwater is back and ready and to do to be even better than it's ever been before. And that's not just because of the 5 of us or the staff. It's been our entire city, our entire community pulling together. And if we continue to do that, our best days as a city are ahead of us, because the way we pulled together after these 2 hurricanes has just been amazing. And now we're getting ready to reap the benefits of that for our city and our citizens. So let's all work together to have a great spring training, spring break, to celebrate all the wonderful, beautiful things that are about Clearwater. And with that, I will adjourn the February 2025 meeting of the Clearwater City Council.